look at all the hard work we have done. Okay, there's no way that we're cute. I'm not cute. I'm not fluffy. The work I'm doing is not fluffy. Hey guys, this is Kim. Welcome back to Fables, and I am back with another video on cuteness. So ever since I uploaded my last video, which was a response to this post in the Facebook group, to this person who claimed that Q decks can be serious and that Q decks are somewhat shallow. So I made a video response to that, and I talked about how whatever decks you pick is really personal preference. We choose images or symbolisms within a deck that appeal to our inner archetypes. And also I talked about some positive aspects of cuteness. And one person commented under that video and it really got me thinking. So this person said, sometimes I find myself saying that, oh, I'm so glad this deck isn't fluffy. But why is that a bad thing? I should kind of correct myself. I should be more cautious of the word fluffy and how I use the word fluffy. And that really got me thinking, because it's totally true that we tend to have a negative connotation when it comes to the word fluffy or something cute. I think especially in the tarot and spiritual community, we want to avoid anything that's fluffy at all costs, because you know, life isn't fluffy, life is hard work, etc. So I kind of want to explore that a little bit, and kind of just like riff off that topic. And then yeah, because I definitely have a lot of thoughts about on cuteness that I haven't really shared yet, and I want to continue to explore this topic. So anyway, without further ado, so let's start with the word fluffy, right? And let's start with that comment underneath my video. I definitely agree that there's usually a negative connotation when it comes to fluffy. I mean, I think I've tried to remind myself that fluffy isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I would describe myself as fluffy because I tend to be more gentle natured, and I'm like very positive. I'm more like a cheerleader, and I would describe the tarot readings that I used to give as somewhat fluffy readings, just because I like to focus on the encouraging and empowering aspects of life. And I tend to carry that tone as a person, just because that's kind of just part of my personality. But I would never describe myself as someone who bypasses. Just because I was fluffy doesn't mean I'm spiritual bypassing. So I think that's what I want to start with. I think something that is cute or fluffy, it usually has a negative connotation. I think it's because it is associated with spiritual bypassing. I think it's associated with not being able to, or not willing to, confront the difficult emotions or aspects of the things that we experience. It's typically associated with escapism. It's typically associated with appearing happy and positive, but it is not really true or deep positivity. It's like, it kind of just like evoke this attitude of like, you only look at the bright side, but you don't look at the shadowy side, and you're kind of just letting all that garbage and junk just collect in your brain and your psyche, but you're refusing to look at them. Like everything is like unicorns and rainbows for you. So first of all, I kind of want to apologize for using that phrase as like a denigrating thing, because I think rainbows and unicorns are amazing. I think they represent our magical and creative selves, and I think they have amazing manifesting power, which kind of lead me to my next point, because a lot of these fluffy images, right, they all carry this negative connotation. Like I said before, it's as if like they're supposed to represent like the shallowness of spirituality, the fact that we can't confront dark stuff. Anyway, I'm rambling a little. My point really is that anything in the world, just like the archetypes in tarot, anything has its light attributes and shadow attributes, and I think they're inherently neutral. And same with cute things, cute or fluffy things. Cute and fluffy things are inherently neutral. They exist outside of us, so they shouldn't pose any threat to us. It's really about how we use them. So I definitely agree that there can be a superficial and spiritual bypassy element to fluffy and cuteness, and I think that is the shadow attributes of something that is sort of labeled as fluffy, right? If you're constantly existing in this happy space where you're unwilling to process your sadness and take the time to be sad and take the time to observe your other emotions, etc., I think you're definitely spiritual bypassing. I think you're on the wrong side of fluffy. But like I said before, everything has its inherent light and shadow attributes, but it's also inherently neutral depending on how we engage with it and what we carry inside of us. Because when we look at anything in the world, really, like how it affects us is how it's reflecting our inner constructions. Anyway, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, I think like there are definitely, there are definitely shadow attributes when it comes to like cute and fluffy. The wrong side of fluffy, which is spiritual bypassing, as we have already established. But I think the light side of fluffy and cuteness, or something that's cute, there's like a lot of light attributes and benefits of cuteness. Like I said, I already mentioned this in my previous video. I'll just quickly recap it here. I think the light attributes of cuteness is like, number one, it really lowers our guard. It allows us to be open and vulnerable. It allows us to be playful and enter a moment and really enjoy the moment. And it really allows us to be anxiety free, allows us to let go of our regrets and really just be in the present moment. And it's also like, it kind of just like activates our heart center, activates our joy, our compassion, our ability to experience something in simple terms. So I think those are all amazing light attributes of cuteness. I think this is typically associated with inner child work, right? Activating our inner child, activating our imagination and playfulness, and healing our inner child. So I guess we just don't typically associate all of these spiritual work, inner child work / shadow work with cuteness, but cuteness is associated with youth, right? So speaking of youth, I think that's why we typically associate cuteness and fluffy as something more shallow or something that's superficial, because even though cuteness itself is neutral, it's easier to perceive cuteness and fluffiness as shallow because cuteness is associated with youth. And when we talk about wisdom, when we look at wisdom, typically, right, we expect wisdom from an older person because of the years and experiences that person has had, right? So wisdom is typically associated with old age or older looking something or someone that looks older. So I understand, like, I think cuteness, we tend to look at cuteness and we would default to all the negative connotations of spiritual bypassing, because I think in the spiritual community we are trying to acquire wisdom. We're trying to be older, I guess. We're trying to look older or appear older or appear wiser. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily physically older. I think there's a part of us that wants to maintain our youth. But you know what I mean? Like, I think cuteness is easily mistaken or just misinterpreted as shallow or fluffy, wrong side of fluffy, because it's associated with youth, and youth is associated with childlikeness and typically is associated with innocence and lack of wisdom, right? Because lack of experience. So it's totally understandable. But I really want to talk about why we tend to have a lot of people tend to have a negative reaction towards something cuteness. Like, there's a lot of judgment that goes on when it comes to cuteness, right? It's like something cute, it's useless, it's like childish, it's like not serious, it doesn't belong in the serious, oh so serious tarot community. And I kind of want to just like call that out, because I honestly feel like cuteness, anything, is inherently neutral, and the meaning that we project onto that whatever thing is essentially a reflection of our own lack. Because I personally struggle with cuteness. I rejected the fuck out of cuteness. I didn't want to be the cute girl. I didn't want to be branded as cute, so I rejected anything that was associated with cuteness, like plushies and cute things and childlike gestures or behaviors. Like, I really hated that part of myself because I wanted to look mature, I wanted to look older, I wanted to look like a teacher, like I was competent, that I was serious, that I was worthy of respect. But that was because I couldn't accept and respect the person that I was on the inside at that time. And that's why I rejected cuteness, because it was a projection of my lack. It reminded me of what I lacked, when that was the best part of me. As you can see, I've really learned to accept that. So I kind of just wanted to call that out, because I just feel like cuteness is inherently neutral. Like, anything that we attach so much negative emotion, especially judgment, onto is really a reflection of whatever that's going on inside. And I think rejecting and judging cuteness is really a reflection of our rejection and judgment towards superficiality. And I'm not calling like anyone who dislikes cuteness is shallow, but I think just to kind of go into this a little bit, you know, because cuteness is associated, connected to superficiality, it's easier to target, right? Like it's easy to, easily becomes associated with spiritual bypassing, etc. Because it's happy and positive all the time, and it's not scary, it's not hardcore, it's not serious. But I think like just kind of discuss it like as a whole, I guess, not trying to attack anyone, but I think it does reflect our need to be recognized as spiritual, you know, as someone who has done the hard work, someone who has acquired all the wisdom, someone who has, you know, who's been on this path for a while, right? We want to be recognized for our efforts. Like I totally get that, but I think sometimes it is like an egotistic thing, right? Like it is an ego thing that we want to be recognized externally as a figure of or a source of wisdom or spirituality, and yeah, and I think like anyone who has a strong distaste for cuteness is kind of just carrying that. I mean, I'm not trying to pin shadow work on anybody, but I'm just saying, like, I think conceptually it is reflecting our need to it's kind of reflecting our understanding that spirituality is hard work, right? Let's totally agree 100%. I think that's what it is, which is kind of funny at the same time, right? Because like it's like we're almost trying to it's like we're trying to compete to see who's the bigger martyr and who has the tougher and shittier life, when spirituality is really just a journey towards yourself. Like for me, I never thought my spiritual journey was like difficult. Like it wasn't hardcore. It was hardcore when things happened. It was difficult when things happened, but it was a moment that passed, and I would never brand myself as a martyr, and I would never have like such an intense attitude towards it, because like, oh, I'm just me doing what I'm doing. So it's not like, you know, I'm kind of like more neutral about it. Anyway, I'm rambling. So what I mean to say is, I think there is a, when it comes to being a spiritual person, or when you identify as a spiritual person, when you're on a spiritual path, or when you're maybe engaged with a really serious tarot practice, I think there is this image that we're trying to uphold, right? Like, thing we're trying to like to kind of I think we want to be recognized for our hard work. I think we want to be recognized for how far we have come, and I think there's also this need to be seen, this need to be seen as wise and as elevated, I suppose, and more spiritual. Like I think there's this need to appear spiritual, and I think that's a big part of why a big reason why people would kind of reject cuteness. I think it really is just like an egotistic thing, because it's kind of speaking to our reluctance to be identified with something shallow or spiritually bypassing, because we don't want to be that. Like, we understand ourselves to be spiritually deep and full of wisdom, and that's look at all the hard work we have done. Okay, there's no way that we're cute. I'm not cute. I'm not fluffy. The work I'm doing is not fluffy. So that's kind of my take, my speculation as to why people are rejecting cuteness. But, you know, I think anything that rouses like a strong emotional response in us is worthy of examining. So, there. Yeah. And on that note, I kind of also just want to say, like, we do, like, I understand that spirituality or a spiritual journey is difficult. Like, true spirituality and deep positivity, true positivity requires us to remain positive and hopeful and optimistic while dealing with the difficult shit in life, while confronting the shadows and fears and the difficult experiences in life, and facing the future and facing ourselves and facing these situations courageously. I think that's deep and true positivity, and I understand that's difficult work. It takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of, like, you know, faith and prayer and just hard work. Like, it's serious work. I'm not saying like it's not serious, but I also kind of want to say, like, just because something is serious doesn't mean it can't be cute or fluffy or fun. I mean, all the spiritual work that I have done for myself, they were there were difficult and hard, like there were difficult moments for sure. There were like moments where I really had to commit, like force myself to kind of just like look at it and really commit to it, and just actually not be complacent about it. But for the most part, I would say my spiritual journey has been fun, and it's been an adventure because it's allowed me to be who I am today. I've grown more confident, I've grown more empowered, I've grown more me and more myself because of all the work that I've done. So if you ask me like if my spiritual work is fun or serious, like for first word, if you made me pick one, I would pick fun. And I think just because something is fun doesn't mean it's not serious. I think those two can definitely coexist at the same time. And I think one thing could appear to be one thing. I talked about this in my other video too, you know, appearance versus reality. Just because something looks incredibly cute doesn't mean it can't be insightful or deep or be a source of wisdom. I think we need to, you know, be aware of the stereotypes that we place upon the things in the world. And I think we need to be aware of the projections that we have towards anything. Like, I'm not just calling out on like people who hate on cuteness, but you know, like I project too. I'm also human, so I'm not placing myself above anyone. But yeah, what was my point? My point was, I know that we expect spirituality to be hard, but I just wanted to say that what if spirituality can be easy? What if it's not easy as in like there's no work involved? It's easy because it's easy because you're willing. It's easy because it brings you peace. It's easy because you know that it's good for you and helpful for you at the end. So it's easy to do. It's easy because it's your attitude is of ease. It's not because it's like less work or it's easy. You know what I mean? Like it's easy because it makes you happy at the end. It gives you a lot of joy. And how is that not serious hard work, right? It's like I said in my previous video, just because something that requires a lot of hard work and it requires a lot of serious work, right? You could be doing like a really intensive job, and you could be going through like pursuing like a really intense career, but that doesn't mean it's not fun for you, right? It could make you really motivated. It could make you really happy and passionate. So those things can definitely coexist at the same time. And I just want to say, like, I think spirituality is the same way. Just because something is cute and fluffy doesn't mean that it can't give you meaningful conversations about you and how you experience things and how you engage with your shadows or how you integrate your shadows, etc. So yeah, what if spirituality can be easy? What if some moments you literally just need to pick up a cute cat and just ease into the moment and your anxiety will just melt away? What if you don't need to do shadow work at that moment? What if you don't need to dig into the roots to find the poison and actually hurt your hand? What if you could really just what if you just needed to look at the flower and the poison would just dissipate when your own shadows dissipate, right? I think there are moments where what we need is a dose of cute and fluffy, because I feel like not everything needs to be taken with so much seriousness. I think we can all afford to be a little lighthearted once in a while, and of course this depends on who we are and how we view the world, etc. But what if spirituality is actually easy? Like why does it need to be hard when it could be easy? Like when you can when the destination is the 10th floor and God says you can take the elevator or the staircase, and then the results would be exactly the same. Why not take the elevator? You know what I mean? Like, it's available. I mean, you could climb the stairs and be like, I want to get a good workout done. But who's to say, like, either way of transportation is, like, less valid or something. Like, you're both on the 10th floor now. So, I don't know what the metaphor's for. But anyway, you know what I mean. So, yeah. I think that's all I wanted to say, and let me know in the comments what you think of cuteness and what you think of what I just said. Yar, stay calm and keep being cute, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!